Yo, what is up guys, your boy IzuKage here with the finale for What If Naruto Went Back in Time. So this is the long-awaited finale for this series. I can't even tell you how many messages I've gotten for when this is gonna drop, So it is finally here, and well, I did say it was gonna be an hour, but it just didn't turn out to be an hour, and I didn't want to just stretch it out, just over explaining certain situations, because I feel like the ending, it was a fitting ending. And also I'll have some bonus scenes for when the movie drops, so make sure to check that out. But with all that said, I'll really appreciate it if you guys like and subscribe, because I don't normally script videos this long, so that's why it took such a long time to come out. But all I hope is that you guys will go on to enjoy it. Discord link in the description, make sure to join, come chat, hang out with the community. But with that all said, let's just get right into the what if. So we left off right as Naruto and Neji's match was about to start. So before it does, Neji says, "I've heard a lot about you, and let's hope you live up to the hype." And he got into his signature stance, and Naruto said, "Don't be so cocky or else you'll regret it." With that, Neji rushes at Naruto, trying to get him as close as possible, because that's where most of his techniques are most effective. So Naruto, he didn't expect Neji to move this fast. It's like he trained even harder than his original timeline. So Neji tried striking one of Naruto's chakra points, but he blocked it with his hand, and he and Neji started going back and forth in a heated taijutsu battle. And Hiyashi, he was watching this entire thing from the stands, and he says to himself, "To think someone could match the Hyuga's perfected taijutsu technique. He truly takes after his father." So back with Naruto, he kicks Neji back to create some distance, but he blocked using his arm. But still, Neji, he got sent flying back. And Naruto said, "I must admit, you're faster than I expected, but not fast enough." And Naruto focused chakra into his feet, and it converted into lightning release. And Neji, he thought quickly, just seeing the sparks of lightning. Before Naruto even ran at him, he said, "Rotation." And Naruto ran right into Neji's chakra barrier, and for the few seconds he was stunned for, because literally Naruto just ran max speed into a barrier. Imagine running full speed into a wall, it would not be fun. So Neji uses this opportunity and crouches down and says, "8 trigrams, 64 palms," and he runs at Naruto and starts jabbing at his chakra points. And with each chakra point he strikes, he starts counting them, because I don't know, he wants Naruto to hear or something. He's like, goes to 2 palms, to 4, to 8, to 16, to 32, and when he lands his final blow, he says 8 trigrams, 64 palms, and this sends Naruto flying back before landing and sliding across the ground. And Hinata is in the stands, and she couldn't watch this. She turned away, and Sakura, who was sitting right next to her, said, "Hinata, you shouldn't look away. I've been on a team with Naruto long enough to know that he has way more in store, and something that weak is not going to take him down." So Neji slowly starts walking towards Naruto, and he stood over him and said, "You are definitely a prodigy, but I'm a generational prodigy, the ones that stand above the rest in terms of strength." And before walking off, he said again, "You fought well." And as Neji, he's walking off, the proctor, he was about to declare him the winner, but then the sky started becoming overcast, and just the overall atmosphere in the entire arena became heavy. And Neji started looking around, and he turned to Naruto, and a faint red chakra started swirling around him and bubbling up from his skin. And Neji, he's confused. He activated his Byakugan, and the chakra points he just blocked were forced open by this mysterious red chakra. And the chakra around him started pushing Naruto up, and he was now standing without using his arms or legs to help him get up. He just rose up, and the chakra around Naruto started forming a single tail behind him. And the Anbu members that are next to Hiruzen, who were there to protect him, they all pulled out scrolls and said, "Should we take care of this?" But Hiruzen, he was way chiller than they expected. He said, "Don't worry, it's under control." And they were confused but decided to watch. And Neji said, "So, you had some spare chakra? Whatever, I'll defeat you again." But then Naruto disappeared from Neji's vision and instinctively he started doing rotation. While in the stands, Tenten is relentlessly praising Neji over and over, saying how nothing can get through his rotation. Everyone around her is annoyed. So they're all trying to ignore her and focus back on the match. And they see Naruto appear behind Neji and drew his hand back and punched through the rotation and dragged Neji out, throwing him across the arena and into the arena walls, like going all the way through it. And Naruto, he was thinking, oh, I went a bit overboard, but this entire time he just remembered Neji's fight with Hinata in the preliminaries, so he had to get some payback for her. So the proctor runs to the hole Neji's body made through the wall, and Neji, he is out cold, so he announces Naruto to be the winner. And the crowd was in uproar. This demon brat against the Hyuga's prodigy, there's no way he could have won. But they couldn't do anything about it. Naruto won fair and square. So Naruto returns to the stands while medical ninjas go and attend to Neji's injuries. So after everything was cleared up, the hole was patched up by someone with Earth Release. Next up was Gaara versus Sasuke, and this time Sasuke is there, so the match is not going to be postponed. So as both of their names were called, Gaara, he just jumped down to get into the arena. But before Sasuke left, Naruto, he stopped him, wished him good luck, and Sasuke just nods back and he goes to go fight his match. Meanwhile, Naruto, he walks off to an area in the arena hallways where no one could see him, and he made a shadow clone while his original self returned to the stands to, watch Sasuke to start cheering for him whenever he's winning. His clone though went up to where the Hokage was seated, but it remained out of sight, just for when stuff is gonna hit the fan. I don't want to curse because, YouTube will monetize me, but besides the point. So as Sasuke match begins, the real Naruto starts to look around the stands and they see ninjas in robes spread across the entire stands. So real quick, we switch to Kakashi's perspective and he sees these ninjas as well and he says to himself, it seems Hiruzen's intel was correct. So Kakashi then looked to Guy and they both nodded at each other, and so did Kurenai and Asuma. So you might be wondering how they know about the attack that's gonna happen. Well, the day before these exams, Hiruzen briefed them on a possible attack that he got from some of his reconnaissance ninjas in the Land of Wind. So basically all the Jonins in the stands, they are on guard. So back with Naruto, and he's watching Sasuke and Gaara's match, and he sees Sasuke standing at the top of the arena walls with two tomoe in each of his eyes. And Sasuke then did a series of hand signs and said, "Chidori," and put his hand down, and his lightning release came out of his hand, and he started sprinting down the wall with the Chidori tearing the ground apart beneath him. So he's gaining a lot of speed from running down the wall, and then he ran up to Gaara and shoved it through the sand surrounding Gaara, and it tore through his shoulder. Because of the pain, Gaara screamed out, and hearing this, Temari and Kankuro, they started getting scared because Gaara, he's never been injured like this before. So the sand surrounding Gaara shot out some spikes, forcing Sasuke to jump back, but he didn't incur any serious injuries, just a few cuts. So Gaara, he's letting out this blood-curdling scream, and everyone in the stands, like a chill run down their back. And Naruto is seeing Kankuro and Temari's reaction, and he knows that it's about to happen. So from the small hole in Gaara's sand barrier that Sasuke made with his Chidori, the arm of Shikaku reached out and tried slamming Sasuke against the ground, but he easily jumped away because it was pretty slow. And Kankuro and Temari's heart sank when they saw that arm. And Kankuro is like, is that thing taking over Gaara again? And Temari, she said in a really shaky voice, like, I don't know. And Gaara's Jonin sensei, who was sitting in the stands, is saying, "Gaara, you damn fool." At that moment, the sand around Gaara started to fall, revealing Gaara in his half Shikaku state. And seeing this, the Konoha Crush was signaled to begin. And the ninjas in robes standing at the back of everyone in the stands, they started doing hand signs, but Kakashi, along with all the other Jonins who were informed, took them down almost immediately. So up in the stands where the two Hokage are seated, Orochimaru, who is disguised as a Kazekage, he sees all of his Shan Shinobi get taken down almost immediately, and the explosions that were set around the village that were supposed to go off aren't going off. He doesn't hear or feel any sort of vibration that would indicate an explosion, and he's looking around wondering what happened. And that's when he heard a strange sound behind him, and when he looked around, Naruto's clone ran up with a Rasengan in hand and slammed it into Orochimaru's face. This blew Orochimaru back into a wall, and Naruto quickly turned to Hiruzen and said he'll handle the rest, but Hiruzen reached out and dragged Naruto out of the way because a snake with a sword coming out of his mouth just tried to stab Naruto. And Orochimaru runs to the top of the arena, and Naruto and Hiruzen follow. But Naruto, before he could tell Hiruzen to just get out of here, the Sound Four rushes in and make the four-corner barrier. Meanwhile, this is all happening. The original Naruto is hot on Gaara's trail, while Sasuke is lagging behind because he had to deal with Kankuro Temari and some other Sand Shinobi. So Naruto finally catches up to Gaara, and he knows that he needs to show Gaara that the people around him care about him, that he is loved, but he can't do that without taking him down first. So Naruto and Gaara start staring each other down, and Naruto's body then began to spark all over, and he disappeared and reappeared behind Gaara. Naruto then kicked him up into the air and keeps jumping off trees, kicking him again and again and again, sort of mimicking Lee's primary lotus. And then while in the air, Naruto spun around and kicked Gaara down back towards the ground, and his face slammed into a bunch of tree branches on the way down, and Gaara slammed into the ground, creating a massive crater, and he was knocked out almost instantly. And then at this point, Naruto, he was thinking, oh, I might have went a bit too hard. But as he said this, a massive smoke cloud appeared, revealing Shikaku in its full B state, towering over Naruto. So Naruto, without much thought, he bit into his thumb and said, "Summoning Jutsu." And Sasuke, who was just arriving on scene, he got pushed back by the tremendous force of the smoke coming from Naruto's summoning. And due to how massive this summoning was, some of the trees got knocked over, and the ground itself it felt like a tremor. And there he was, Gamabunta. The Chief Toad took another hit from his pipe and said, "So, Shikaku, huh? Kid, do you have a plan to take him down?" And Naruto smirked and said, "Yeah." So he put his hand together and said, "Transform." And from the smoke, the Nine Tails rushed towards Shikaku, sinking its claws into its shoulder. And Naruto jumped off the Nine Tails' head and reeled back his hand, ready to finish this off, to wake Gaara up. But then Shikaku opened its mouth and swallowed Naruto whole. So for this part, I'm going off of that one episode where Naruto was swallowed by Son Goku and got to talk to him, so hopefully that would make the scene make more sense for you guys. So Naruto falls down into darkness before stopping when he hits the ground. And Naruto, he's looking around, and Kurama says to him, "Shikaku should be here." So Naruto starts walking around looking for Shikaku, but in the distance he sees something in the dark, like a distant light. So he runs up to it, and what he sees shocks him. Naruto doesn't see Shikaku, but he sees Gaara chained down to the ground. And Shikaku, he's thinking Shikaku must have switched places with Gaara when he broke free. And Naruto ran up to Gaara and kneeled down and said, "Are you okay?" And Gaara looked up to Naruto and said, "Why are you here?" And Naruto was confused what he meant by this and replied, "I'm obviously here to save you." And Gaara turned away from Naruto and said, "I don't need saving. Shikaku has taken control and there's nothing I can do but wait for it to get bored. At this point, Gaara had really just given up. He was content with Shikaku taking control of him and doing whatever the beast wants. But Naruto was not giving up so easily. And he said, Gaara, you need to take control. If not for me, do it for Kankuro and Tamari. And Gaara raised an eyebrow and said, why would I ever fight for them? And Naruto looked at Gaara and said, because they're fighting for you. They love you, Gaara. You three are blood. And strong bonds make you stronger because you have something to fight for. And Naruto stood up and said, right now, it's up to you. So we switched to Gamabunta's perspective, and he still has, he's still in the Nine-Tails form and has his claws synced into Shikaku's shoulders, just thinking that I can't hold on any longer. Naruto, where the heck are you? So Shikaku sucks in a bunch of air and he's about to let out a wind bullet. Then the beast just poofed into smoke and Naruto and Gaara were just standing there unharmed. And Naruto gave Gamabunta a thumbs up and he poofed away back to Mount Miyaboku. So we switch perspectives to Hiruzen and Naruto's clone standing off against Orochimaru and Hashirama. The reason why it's just Hashirama is because with Naruto's clone there, they actually managed to stop the second and fourth Hokage from being reanimated by Orochimaru. So they're standing on one of the branches from a jutsu Hashirama just used. And then Naruto's clone turned to Hiruzen and reached into his kunai pouch and pulled out a 3-pronged kunai and gave it to him. And Hiruzen, he was confused why Naruto even had this. And then he was like, wait, isn't this Minato's? And then the clone dispels and Hiruzen, he was so confused, like what is Naruto doing? But due to his confusion, he wasn't paying attention to Hashirama, who was right in front of him, and he blitzed Hiruzen and punched him across the face, sending him flying over and slamming into the walls of the barrier. And as Hiruzen is falling down, Hashirama clasped his hands together and said, "Wood style, wood spear." And from the ground, a wooden spear shot out towards Hiruzen. But before it hit him, he manages to dodge it and then starts sliding down the side of the wall. And Hiruzen is watching Hashirama keenly because he's ready to use one of his jutsus. But then Naruto appeared in front of him with a clone, like he just teleported in front of him or something. And Naruto grabbed his clone and he grabbed the hand of his clone and spun around and threw it towards Hashirama. And Hashirama, he was just ready to dodge the clone, but Naruto's clone had a Rasengan in its hand, and when it got close enough, it slammed it into Hashirama, sending him spinning and flying back towards Orochimaru, and both of them slammed together and hit into the barrier wall. So Naruto, knowing he doesn't have much time left because they're not going to be down for a really long time, he turned to Hiruzen and started explaining to him a plan that he has for taking down Orochimaru as well as Hashirama. So Naruto weaved a few hand signs and he slammed his hand into the ground, and from the smoke appeared a massive scroll. And Hiruzen raised an eyebrow and said, "What are you going to do with that?" But Naruto just said, "Just watch." So Orochimaru and Hashirama, they began to recover and got up and looked towards where they last saw Naruto and Hiruzen, but they weren't there. And from the forest that Hashirama made, like while Naruto was fighting Shikaku, a kunai came flying out of it, but Hashirama, he simply just blocked it. And from the smoke, Naruto appeared and he reached down and grabbed Hashirama, holding him still. And then the actual Naruto jumped out of the forest with the massive scroll. And then he started doing a bunch of hand signs once again and slammed his hand onto the seal that was written into the scroll, because this scroll was just a massive seal that Naruto managed to recover from the Uzumaki clan. So from the scroll, a bunch of writing shot out of the scroll and towards Hashirama. and then it started encircling Hashirama and Naruto's clone. And Orochimaru, he tried knocking Naruto away, but he tried, like, when he tried punching him, like, a barrier stopped him from doing it, and then a light shined up, and then both Naruto's clone and Hashirama got sucked down into the seal. But before Naruto's clone could be completely sealed, it poofed, and so it was just Hashirama that got sealed into the scroll. So Orochimaru, who was looking at some of the markings from the seal, his mind was blown away, because this is some advanced Fuinjutsu, and he looked towards Naruto and said, "How is this kid a master sealer?" But the thing is, Naruto isn't, which I should have mentioned. He went to the Uzumaki, well, the remains of the Uzumaki's clan, and that was one of the things he recovered. It's definitely not plot convenience. I would never, guys. I take pride into my. Let's continue. So Orochimaru, he's up against Naruto as well as Hiruzen, and as you can imagine, this didn't last long for him. Naruto, the kunai that was still next to Orochimaru that Naruto threw earlier to seal Hashirama, Naruto, he made a clone, and that clone formed a Rasengan, and he infused his wind chakra into the Rasengan. And then the clone teleported right in front of Orochimaru and slammed it into his chest. And we know the Rasen Shuriken, it attacks the opponents at a cellular level. So Orochimaru is almost completely dead at this point. Of course, the clone didn't survive the attack, so it was dispelled, and Naruto returned to Hiruzen, and Hiruzen said, "When did you learn Flying Raijin?" And Naruto smiled and said, "I've been working on it for a while." So as they're talking, the barrier surrounding them fell, and the Sound Four quickly grabbed Orochimaru and went to escape. And Hiruzen was asking Naruto, like, shouldn't we take care of him now? Like, completely kill him? And Naruto said, nah, he's gonna become an asset to the Leaf in the future. And with that, the Konoha Crush was officially stopped. No one dead and no buildings were destroyed. And Naruto, he was proud of the amount of people he managed to save. So far off into the distance, into one of the trees nearby, two people are standing there watching Naruto, and one of them said, "So, this is the kid you've been talking so highly of." And the other person said, "Yes, master." So the first guy took a while to speak, but he said he could become an issue in the future. Keep an eye on his movements and report back if you see anything suspicious. You two got that? And both voices said simultaneously, "Yes, master." So after rounding up all of the Sand Shinobi who were captured, Hiruzen had them escorted back to their village as Naruto suggested. So in his office, Hiruzen called in Team 7 and he says, "I'm getting a bit old for the title of Hokage. I want you to look for Tsunade, one of the legendary Sannin." And he gave all four of them a small picture of her, and Naruto, he already knows where Tsunade is, so it won't even take that long. So with this new mission, the team heads out to find the next Hokage, Tsunade. And as they're jumping from branch to branch, Naruto says, maybe we could check some of the bars first. And he says, like, there's one nearby. But before Kakashi could even question Naruto's decision, he jumped ahead of everyone, so they all just followed where Naruto was going. And they ended up going to a bar, and as they walk in, Kakashi immediately spots Tsunade. She has her head down drinking some sake because she just lost a bunch of money from the owner of this bar that she tried to bribe, but it didn't work out because she's, of course, the legendary sucker. So Team 7 walks up to Tsunade's table and they sit down, and the entire time they're trying to convince her to come back with them to the village because the village really needs her aid because of, well, not a lot of people were injured in the Konoha Crush, but there is still definitely a lot of injured, like Lee, his legs were still shattered by Gaara. And a lot of people like that, so they're just in desperate need of her help and for her to become Hokage as well. Despite all of their attempts to persuade her, Naruto, he already knows she's not coming back so easily if they continue like this, so he makes a bet with her. Naruto proposes, if I can learn the Rasengan in a single day, you'll come back to the village with us, and if I don't, Hiruzen will clear your entire debt. And hearing that last part, Tsunade's eyes turned into dollar signs, and without even thinking, she says deal. And Shizune tries stopping her, but Tsunade, she was already in it. So Naruto got up and said, well, let's go. And Tsunade, she's rightfully confused, like, you said you have a day to learn the Rasengan, so we'll meet up back here tomorrow. And Naruto says, no, we're leaving right now because I already know it. And Naruto extends out his hand and blue chakra starts swirling around into an orb, creating the Rasengan. And the sound of it, there's no mistaking that this is the Rasengan. So Naruto said, pack your bags, we have a few hours until nightfall. And Tsunade, she shot up out of her chair and said, hey, that's not fair, you tricked me. And Naruto shrugged and said, you agreed to it, so I get to packing. And Naruto walked out with Shizune holding Tsunade back so she doesn't go and beat Naruto up. So 2 hours later, Tsunade, her pet pig, and Shizune return to the bar and with their stuff. So Team 7 accompanying the future Hokage, they head back to the village. And when I say this is not going to take any time, Naruto does this in a day, when in canon I'm pretty sure it took either a week or multiple weeks. So they arrive in the village and the elders were delighted to see Tsunade because they were discussing who would become the next Hokage, and here Tsunade is, she just fell into their laps. So with that, Tsunade was quickly appointed as the next Hokage. So 2 days go by and Tsunade, she's slowly starting to get into her role as the Hokage, doing paperwork, stuff the Hokage would normally do. So on this particular day, Jiraiya appeared at the Hokage's window and he tapped on the glass, and Tsunade, she was a bit she jumped a bit and turned around and she was surprised to see him there. So she opened the window and Jiraiya said, why hello Lord Hokage. And Tsunade laughed and said, knock it off. What do you want, Jiraiya? And Jiraiya looked a bit sad and said, do I really need a reason to come see you? And Jiraiya walked up extremely close to Tsunade, like he was right in her face as he said that. And Tsunade, she blushed a bit and backed off and sat into her desk and said, I've got a lot of work to do. And Jiraiya said, I figured, well, I'll be taking Naruto and Sasuke out of the village. So they explore and get stronger along the way. And Tsunade was actually really on board with the idea, since she knows that they need to see the outside world and basically know what it's like. I mean, it's not good to be cooped up in one place your entire life, basically. So with the Hokage's approval, Jiraiya told Naruto and Sasuke about it, and the next day they were there waiting at the gate, extremely excited to leave the Leaf Village for this long extended period of time. So they all had their backpacks filled with essentials, just ready to start their journey. So for the first year of the time skip, Naruto, Sasuke, and Jiraiya traveled all over the ninja world. They went as far east as the Land of Lightning and as far north as the Land of Iron. Of course, it wasn't a safe trip, they were attacked multiple times. But with all three of them together, basically no one could take them down unless it was some organized group. But no mercenary just trying to steal their money is ever going to take these three down. But apart from that, the two got a lot of insight into how people live in foreign lands and their culture they have there. And they also learned a lot of jutsu from the locals. But throughout their journey, even though Sasuke was really happy to be training with a legendary Sannin, he wanted to fight his own battles. He wanted to grow strong on his own and get strong enough to fight Itachi so he can finally learn the truth. So at around the second year into the time skip, Sasuke split off from Jiraiya and Naruto. But before leaving, Jiraiya gave Sasuke a parting gift. It was a map to show him where he could gain a lot of power, but we'll get back to Sasuke a bit later on. So Jiraiya took Naruto to Mount Miyaboku, like he reverse summoned both of them there, and to begin his Toad Sage training. And in canon, this training took about a week, but Naruto was rushing and he had to go back to the leaf when Pain was attacking. So Naruto, he wasn't the best at it, but with Naruto now having months on end to train at Mount Miyaboku, Naruto learned a lot more advanced versions of things he was doing in canon, like how to absorb nature energy, but during his training, Naruto never used toad oil at all. So it did take longer, but Naruto used this experience to learn how to absorb nature energy while moving. So Naruto doesn't need to merge with the toads to do it. He can just be running and at the same time taking in nature energy. And now Naruto, he also learned how to throw the Rasen Shuriken just like in canon. So in all, Naruto stayed on Mount Miyaboku for a little over a year. But before they returned to the Leaf Village, Naruto asked for the key to the Nine-Tails seal. And at first, Jiraiya, he was obviously hesitant, but Naruto showed Jiraiya he and the Kyuubi are basically friends. Like, he would ask for chakra and the Kyuubi would give Naruto without much issue. He goes up to 6 tails no problem, and Jiraiya was shocked to say the least, and he summoned the toad with the key to the seal. And after placing his hand onto the seal, the frog rolled it back up and it hopped into Naruto's mouth, and he started coughing and said, "It's as disgusting as I remember." So Naruto entered his mindscape and opened the cage of the Nine-Tails, and Naruto extended his fist and said, "Glad to see you out of that cage, it looks pretty cramped." And Kurama walked out with a smile on his face and he extended his fist as well, fist bumping Naruto, and said, "I guess being your Jinchuriki isn't so bad after all." So with that, Naruto trained at Mount Miyaboku, well, mainly focused on using Kurama's chakra for another 5 months before returning to the Leaf Village far stronger than he left it. So we switch perspectives real quick to Deidara and Sasori, and they were on a clay bird flying over to the sand village ready to take the One-Tails. And when they get to the sand village, Deidara, he starts making explosions with the mouth in his palm. And when he's ready to drop them, he gets stopped by Sasori and he says, "Look down." And Deidara, he looks down and he's like, what am I supposed to be seeing? Let's destroy the village already. And then he says, "Focus. There's not a single light or any loud noise in what's supposed to be one of the great villages. Something's up." And he has Deidara fly down, and when they get there, they start looking around and the entire village has been evacuated. Literally, no one is around. So back with Naruto, he turned to Jiraiya and said, "Give me a quick second, I have to go take care of something." And Naruto disappeared, and he appeared next to Gaara, who's standing on top of the Kazekage's office. And Naruto says, "Good, you got my message." And Gaara said, "Yeah, I evacuated everyone like you asked. What's your plan?" And Naruto said, "To defeat them in one move." And Naruto made 4 shadow clones, and they all started absorbing nature energy and ran and jumped really high into the sky. And all 5 Narutos made Rasen Shurikens, which he can do without a clone to infuse the wind chakra. Because of his training at Mount Miyaboku, Naruto can just do it with one hand. And all of them threw it towards Sasori and Deidara, and Sasori stopped and said, "Do you hear something?" And they both went silent to listen, and that's when they hear the Rasen Shuriken coming towards them. But by that time, it's already too late. They tried jumping away, but the Rasen Shurikens expanded, ripping both Akatsuki members to shreds. So Gaara, he was amazed at Naruto's power, and when he landed, Gaara was like, "You have to teach me that someday." And Naruto said sure and disappeared, and all his clones dispersed. So Naruto appeared next to Jiraiya and said, "Let's not keep the Hokage waiting." So they walked to Tsunade's office, but Naruto was recognized by Hinata like on his way over there. And she was still her shy self and said, I'm happy to see you, Naruto. And Naruto said, oh, I'm happy to see you too. I'm going to the Hokage's office, but when I'm done, do you want to grab some ramen? And Hinata's cheeks went completely red, and she said to herself, is Naruto asking me out on a date? I know, my Hinata voice is impeccable, but let's continue with the story. She stood there for about a minute, and when she looked up, Naruto, he was already gone, and Hinata is kicking herself for not saying anything sooner. So when Jiraiya and Naruto enter Tsunade's office, they see a man with black hair and dark clothes already standing by her desk, and he turned around to see who entered the room, and when he did, Naruto immediately recognized him, and Naruto ran up and hugged him, and this guy was Sasuke, and he hugged back, and Naruto, when he released the hug, he's like, well, what did you learn? And Sasuke started to explain that Jiraiya's map took him to the White Snake Sage and it bit Sasuke, giving him its power. So Sasuke basically has all these snake abilities of Orochimaru. So Sasuke spent 3 months getting used to his new abilities, and you might be wondering like what Sasuke did for the other year he was out. Well, he went searching for Itachi. And as I'm telling you this, Sasuke, he's telling Naruto all of this, and Naruto says, well, did you find him? And Sasuke closed his eyes and opened it, revealing his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. And Naruto was really excited for Sasuke. He was happy to see him grow this strong. But Tsunade cleared her throat like, it's good to see you too, Naruto, like in a sarcastic way for Naruto ignoring her. And Naruto scratched the back of his head and said, oh, sorry, I was too caught up in the moment. And Tsunade said, it's fine. Jiraiya briefed me on your growth, and I must say, I'm impressed with both of you. You both deserve some time to rest. And as they're leaving, Tsunade said, wait, I almost forgot. And she pulled out Jonin vest and said, you two are more than capable for it. So Naruto, he's thinking in his head, like, this is exactly how he imagined an ideal future. But for the enemies to come, Naruto would need help, like he wouldn't be able to do this on his own. So with Sasuke, Jiraiya, and Tsunade present, Naruto begins to tell them about his secret, that he's from the future, and Naruto goes into detail about everything that happened in his previous timeline, how Jiraiya died and Sasuke wanted to destroy the village, and the reappearance of Madara, everything about the Ten Tails and the Akatsuki. And hearing all of this, they were all a bit overwhelmed, but to end it off, Naruto said, I've been working hard to ensure that our future remains safe, but with the 4th Great Ninja War in sight, I need your guys' help and the help of all the other 5 Kage. And Jiraiya was the first to process everything, and he said, so what should we be expecting next? Like, what's the big battle that we should all be worried about? And Naruto said, well, 2 things. Team Asuma should not leave the village anytime soon, and that the leader of the Akatsuki would be planning to attack the village. But he took down 2 of their members today, so right now he's not sure when they would launch the attack. So we actually switched perspectives to Pain and some of the other Akatsuki members, and Zetsu dropped the body of Deidara on the ground and the wood parts of Sasori, since he was like a puppet. And Pain looked at them and said, did he do this? And Zetsu nodded and said, I was spying on him this entire time, but around a year and a half ago, the kid and Jiraiya reverse summoned somewhere and I didn't know where. And he just showed up again today and killed 2 of our members, and Sasuke killed Itachi. And Pain started walking off slowly and said, if we keep leaving him, he'll continue getting stronger and stronger. We need to capture Naruto Uzumaki, not just for the Nine Tails, but if he keeps interfering with our plans, we won't be able to summon the Ten Tails. And Pain turned towards Zetsu and said, tell everyone to return immediately. We're launching an assault on the Leaf. So back at the Leaf Village, Naruto managed to find Hinata after he was done talking with Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Sasuke, and they decided to have some ramen like Naruto planned, and Naruto was surprised Hinata liked ramen as much as he did, and Teiuchi said to him that she came here almost every day while he was gone, and Naruto was actually shocked. So for the next few days, Naruto and Sasuke are just catching up on some much needed relaxation because pain is not supposed to arrive for another month or so. So Naruto is chilling at home, and that's when he hears a massive explosion. And Naruto activates his Sage mode and he can sense powerful ninjas attacking the village. So Naruto quickly puts on his ninja gear, and as he was running out, he sees Sasuke as well already running towards the village. So he caught up with him and the two ran towards the gate of the Leaf Village. And there they saw multiple members of the Akatsuki, all of the Paths of Pain, Kisame, Hidan, and Kakuzu. And that doesn't sound like everyone. Well, Zetsu and Tobi are out getting reinforcements while Konan is by Nagato's real body. Naruto said to Sasuke, "This is it. Winning this will stop the war before it even begins." And Sasuke nods and the two rush into battle, and Naruto activates his Sage mode while Sasuke activates his EMS. And Naruto rushed to the main Path of Pain, but before he could get close, the Ashura Path sent multiple missiles towards Naruto, causing him to jump back, but Naruto has fought all of them already, so he knows how to defeat them. And as Naruto lands, the Preta Path grabs Naruto and starts siphoning his chakra, but he has Sage mode activated, causing the path to siphon in nature energy, and because it doesn't know how to balance it with its own chakra, the path starts to turn to stone. And then the animal path summoned a massive rhino, and Sasuke, who was holding back for now, he turned into his half Susanoo form and took out his bow and arrow and shot a arrow covered in Amaterasu flames towards the rhino. And when the rhino got shot, it got sent back like a good distance, and then it landed on its side and it started to burn to ash until like nothing was left. And Naruto, he entered his KCM form and threw a kunai into the air, and he then opened his palm towards the enemy, and then the head of Kurama appeared and started to charge a tail beast bomb. But before it shot, Naruto disappeared, and the paths were looking around trying to find where Naruto was, because if it hit them, it would basically mean certain death. So they were looking around but couldn't find it. And then one of them looked up, but by that time it was really too late. The tail beast bomb smashed into the ground and created a massive explosion. Meanwhile, Sasuke is taking care of the other Akatsuki members, and he simply just roasts them alive with his Amaterasu flames. And in the case of Hidan, I really think that if Sasuke hits him like everywhere on his body, like he doesn't just hit his arm, because Hidan could just cut off his arm or something. If he just hits his entire body with the Amaterasu flames, I'm pretty sure Hidan would just burn to ashes, because it's not going to be put out, and the flames are, I'm pretty sure they're said to be as hot as the sun. So, I mean, you guys can comment what you think, but I really think that Hidan would die if he got hit by the Amaterasu flames. So we switch perspectives to Nagato, and he slammed his hands down and said, "Damn it, I lost connections with all the paths." And Nagato started coughing up blood, and Konan said, "You've used up most of your chakra, please don't do anything reckless." And Nagato, he snapped back at Konan and said, "You don't get it, Konan. Peace was in the grasp of my hands, but I failed the world." Konan then walked up to Nagato and held his cheek and said, "You did the best you could. We can always make another Akatsuki and try a different approach." And Nagato went silent, and then from the outside of their hidden tree thing, well, the tree's made out of paper, but they hear someone say, "Great Fireball Jutsu!" and a massive fireball slammed into the side of the paper tree and started burning it, and from the opening, Conan's eyes widened. And this man said, "I see you've used my eyes well, but I'm here to collect what I gave you." And Conan jumped in the way and said, "Get away from him." But this ninja blitzed past Conan and ripped out Nagato's eyes and replaced them with his own, and said, "Why must people get in the way of the peaceful world I am trying to build? Well, if my plan doesn't come to fruition, I'll die trying." And with that, he started running back towards the Leaf Village. And now going back with Naruto, he's looking at the battlefield and realized that they're all taken down, and he rips out the chakra rods out of all the paths. And Naruto walked up to Sasuke and they fist bumped, and as some Jonin come out to help carry away the bodies, the ninja from before arrives on scene and is standing a good bit away from Naruto. And Naruto looked to see if it was another Akatsuki members, but when he sees this man, his eyes widen as he realized that that's Madara. And Naruto's mind is racing. Why is everything happening so fast? Madara shouldn't be revived as of yet. Well, because of Naruto even being in this timeline, he is starting to influence the sequence of events. Because Madara, like Naruto said, he shouldn't be revived at this point, but because of some things like Naruto did, it speed up the entire process. Like Naruto defeating Deidara and Sasori, like Pain realized that he needed to take Naruto down, so that pushed the like Pain attacking the village way sooner. So that's the same case with Madara. And Naruto, he immediately went into his KCM form, and Madara said, "If my plan fails, I'm taking this entire village with me. Tengai Shinsei." And Madara put every bit, every ounce of chakra he has into this jutsu, and a meteor 6 times the size as the one that dropped on the Shinobi Alliance was now over the Leaf Village, creating an artificial night because it's blocking the sun. And Naruto looked to Sasuke and said, "I'm gonna need your help for this one." So Sasuke grabbed down to Naruto's shoulder and he brought out one of Minato's kunais, and he said, "I haven't used this one before, but hopefully I'll make my old man proud." And Naruto said, "Flying Thunder God, Guiding Thunder Jutsu." And as the meteor is falling, the surface of it starts burning due to the atmosphere and how fast it's moving. And as it's about to hit the village, it stops and starts being sucked into this massive seal. And Naruto teleports it to the middle of the land of fire, where there is 0 inhabitants, just miles and miles of forest. And off in the distance from the Leaf Village, they see this massive explosion. And the ground itself started shaking like a category 8 earthquake. How do you say category or magnitude? I'm pretty sure it's magnitude, yeah. A magnitude 8 earthquake. So some of the buildings in the Leaf, just from the tremor of the earth alone, were destroyed, but the entire village itself was still intact. So Naruto, he dropped to his knees and started breathing heavily, and Sasuke crouched down and asked if he was okay. And Naruto said, "Don't worry about me. Make sure to capture Madara." And even though Madara is a reanimation, he has unlimited chakra, that meteor was like a trade-off. Take my unlimited chakra for the biggest meteor possible, and that trade-off still resulted in his loss. So with no chakra, literally nothing running through his chakra system, Madara couldn't move at all. So Sasuke made sure he was binded up, and Ibiki took care of him, making sure to seal his eyes and make multiple other seals along his body before they could find a effective way to seal him away. So the villagers stormed over to Naruto and Sasuke and started throwing them into the air, praising them for being the heroes of the village. And Naruto and Sasuke could have never been happier. But the real question is, who's gonna become the next Hokage? But that is where I'm going to be leaving this one off. Yes, even in the series finale, you guys are getting hit with a cliffhanger. You can't escape it. Anyways, sorry, I couldn't bring it all the way to the 1 hour mark, but I feel like this is a fitting end to What If Naruto Went Back in Time. And I'll also have some bonus scenes at the end of the movie for when it drops. So, I mean, I won't get into Boruto or anything, but I'll just explain some of the situation that happened after well, where we are right now. So make sure to check it out when it drops, and remember,
like and subscribe. Or else